Because I think that the whole methane being one of a major greenhouse gas is one of the reasons people worry about having too many cows because of all the methane released to the atmosphere.
Yeah, which is another feedback loop. Of course, just having cattle is a big greenhouse gas problem, and then cutting the forests for the cattle, that's another problem.
It's frightening. It's like we're on this downward spiral of how much damage can we do to our own nest. I mean, it's not like it's some planet that we're looking out there in outer space that we can, like a video game. It's like we're playing this video game and we're blowing up ourselves. That'd be a horrible science fiction
movie. Keep doing it. And it's not just the Arctic ice that's melting. It's like glaciers and snowpacks. And when that just melts, the people depend on that to feed their rivers, and it comes in big torrents, and then you don't get any more.
Well, I went to Glacier National Park 2 summers ago, and they showed pictures of how it looked back in the 70s, you know, and then boom, it's like, what a big difference. I mean, if anybody wants to go to Glacier, they better get it on out there because there's so few glaciers now. And then when I went to Alaska 2 years ago, we climbed the glacier, and they showed you where, I mean, we had to walk over boulders for a lot of it because the glacier had receded so much.
Yeah, I just came back from Iceland, and they said in 50 years they think all their glaciers will be gone.
And they're in the Arctic Circle.
Almost.
I mean, aren't they, how far north are you?
They're real close to the Arctic Circle.
And they think all their glaciers will be gone in 50 years?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's frightening.
Yeah.
And the situation at Antarctica is not any better, right?
Well, there's more ice there to melt.
Okay.
But it looks like this century might lose their West Antarctic ice sheet. And that, along with the other melting, could knock up our levels of our ocean a couple of feet, and that would flood low-lying coastal areas. And besides the flooding, what people don't realize is it's not just the flooding, it's salt water getting into the water supply for crops. And so you have whole areas of crops that are not useful anymore because it's got salt in it.
That's definitely happened, I know, in Australia, hasn't it?
Yeah, and other places, like I think Bangladesh, some Maldives Islands and things like that. But it could happen in Florida. It could happen any number of places.
Any place that's within close to the coastal area.
Yeah, you have creeping salt, you know.
Well, with the drought, I mean, you can't make rain. I mean, but the old movies you've seen where they had the rain sticks and all that, you can't make it. And what we're doing are doing things to exacerbate the problem, to just make it worse as far as the drought goes.
Yeah.
Well, so we not only have strong rainstorms, we have high winds too.
Yeah, we're having more intense storms, period, with higher winds. There's a study that came out in 2007 by NASA that predicted more tornadoes.
In 2007, and we've seen them.
Yeah, we've seen them now.
Like the tornado that went through Alabama, that lasted so much longer. I don't know. I can't remember how many miles it went across, but I don't know if that has anything to do with jet stream or what. But
yeah, well, it's definitely more intense than it was. We're having more intense storms, and we think we're going to get hurricanes and cyclones. You don't hear about cyclones because they're not in our hemisphere, but they're more intense.
And that's in the
Southern Hemisphere.
Southern Hemisphere, okay. Yeah. And they're already experiencing more intense cyclones.
Yeah.
Well, how are hurricanes affected by? I mean, what's the whole hurricane to warming weather relationship? How does that work?
Well, there's more heat.
Okay.
And that causes more evaporation. So you have more energy and more water to go in the hurricane, and more energy to fuel it. So you got heat energy translated into rotational energy. And so you get hurricanes that can, they used to just run out of energy when they hit land, but now then they hit land, they could keep going for a while and then hit another body of water, pick up more energy and keep going.
Like we've seen already.
Yeah.
And then I read too that the jet stream is pulling up from the equator with this global warming. It's pulling away from the equator, and which is giving people in subtropics, like let's say Florida, less protection against these hurricanes, because the jet stream would kind of like push against the hurricanes, and so now the hurricanes they can keep on going with the land.
Yeah, it's scary.
It is very scary. So we're seeing that it's affecting drought. We've got, I mean, just severe weather, period. So the climate is changing in a way that is becoming more and more harsh.
Yeah, and it's affecting things that people don't even think about in certain areas, maybe not affecting us directly immediately. But I was talking about the salination of the soil, but in the other extremes, you have more precipitation. And like the Baltic Sea, there is getting diluted. The Baltic Sea is just south of the Scandinavian countries, and it's just got a little place for the water to come in, relatively speaking.
Okay.
And so most of it's almost like a giant lake, and so it's getting all this precipitation, and so it's being diluted.
Oh, because it's getting so much fresh water from the freshwater streams around there?
Yeah, freshwater streams and rain and stuff that they think that it's going to go dead. The Arctic.
No, the Baltic Sea.
Not the Baltic, not the Arctic, the Baltic Sea.
Baltic
they think
Sea,
the sea life in it may die off.
Because the marine life has been evolved for more saline solution.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. Well, here we are. This is the year 2011. I mean, people want to know, what can we do? Because, I mean, I've seen people that didn't think we had global warming are starting to say, it's here. I mean, we accept it. I mean, so there's a sense of urgency to want to do some things.
Yeah, well, there are things you can do. Luckily, we have the internet now where you can really educate yourself on this topic. A very good website is like realclimate.org, which is a good website put out by scientists who are active in the field.
What's it called?
Real Climate.
Well, then, you know, and I think there are some good government agencies. I mean, like NASA has quite a bit to say about
yes, definitely.
And then
James Hansen and NASA in particular, National Oceanic and or Atmospheric Administration.
It's NOAA.
Yeah, NOAA. They have a lot of good stuff. Government agencies have a lot of good things. I think even the Agricultural Service probably has some stuff.
I wish Congress listened to some of these government agencies. Well, but you have to kind of be careful who you listen to on the internet.
There are people that are funded by people that don't want you to know, in a sense, like the fossil fuel industry doesn't want this to get out because it might cut into their profits if people started cutting the use of fossil fuels. Like the Heartland Institute gets a lot of money from them, and they're not a scientific organization.
So it's got this real folksy name, Heartland Institute.
Yeah, right.
But the funding is coming from some of these fossil fuel
not
companies,
exclusively, but a lot of it.
But some of the funding.
Yeah.
And so what they have to say is either not based on scientific evidence or it's
kind of warped a bit.
Well, what gets me is that when I would go check on some of these things, like let's say from the Heartland Institute, they would quote a scientist that was not a climatologist. I mean, all scientists are not the same. I mean, you could be a scientist that studies, let's say, podiatry, okay? I mean, all right, they have a scientific background, but that doesn't mean that person's an expert on climate. So they can say a scientist said this, but they don't necessarily have the
training. They just get anybody they can.
Yes.
So you want to do that, or another good site to look at is skepticalscience.com, because some of the arguments sound pretty good without going into them, but you can check the science. I mean, if it's good science, it'll be in peer-reviewed journals.
Okay.
And not just somebody putting something on a website. You can always refer back to the peer-reviewed journals and look at those.
Because to check out the background of this particular
scientist, and who has evaluated it.
Not just a scientist.
Not just a scientist, but a group. And the International Panel on Climate Change, that's a good group.
Well, so by educating yourself, then someone is better able to engage others, to help them understand what's going on. Because, I mean, to me, it's in some ways it's a simple model as far as the old greenhouse gases heating up what's inside the greenhouse. That's why we put out the greenhouses out there, right? And it takes that light from the sun and traps it as heat. I mean, so what's what we're doing to our planet? Yeah. And by putting out more fossil fuels, it can't help but get warmer. So.
Yeah, it has to. That's been known since the early 19th century, 1824, I think.
When the Industrial Revolution was getting started.
Yeah, the scientists had figured it out then. So this is not new.
Yes.
They're getting more details, but the basic idea is not new. And if you want to be active, you can talk with people, you can write letters to the editor, you can go to like climateprotect.com or it's .org, one of those. It'll be up there. And also you can actually run climate models on your own computer. You can download climate models.
What would be the advantage of that?
Well, you could use your computer to contribute.
Oh, nice. So when you go to the office for the day, you've left your computer on at night or during the day or whatever, there can be run some models that would be more, because so much of what we're finding out about this is coming out of a lot of this computer modeling. Right. Data modeling, yeah.
And there's even a model you can run trying to find better solar energy panels, just trying to find out better ways to construct solar energy panels, cheaper, more efficient, things like that.
And speaking of that, we got to keep working on reducing our carbon footprint.
Yes, definitely.
And there's so many sites out there that have tips on that. EPA has tons of tips on that. MLGNW. I mean, I know now. When if you think about, I'm kind of hot, turn the thermostat down. Well, every time we keep turning that thermostat down, there's got to be more coal burned somewhere to control the amount of electricity that it takes to do that. It's just,
you can turn on a fan. You don't have to do your whole house.
Exactly. It's right. It's right. And a fan definitely uses less electricity than your air conditioning. Yeah. I think we're definitely in a situation where we do need to write our congressman. Yeah. And to make some demands. I mean, I'm disappointed that nothing has come out of this Congress in the last 3 years for an overall energy plan. No, nothing at all. I mean, I went to Europe just recently, and I mean, their lifestyles are so different from what we have. I mean, if I was living in Europe and driving the cars they drive and the lifestyles they have, and I'm having a drought like they're having in Provence and Brittany and these areas, I'd be really angry that the United States over here is just, we're burning it like there's no tomorrow. Yeah, Europe's really leading the way. And when I was in Iceland, again, geothermal was huge. Now it's close to the surface there, but we can still get it. We can drill deeper. And I'm not saying we can solve all our problems with geothermal, but that's one way to do it. Yes. There's multiple ways we can get around the fossil fuels. And I think that by seeing how connected everything is, I think it makes us more aware of what we do, what groups we support, and how this is going to impact. And because it's not about our grandchildren anymore, it's about us. Yeah, really, it's about us. Yes, it's affecting our crop yields now. Yes, yes. The droughts are happening now. Flooding is now. Bill, thank you, thank you. I think that we've had a good conversation, and I thank you very much for coming on the show. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad you're here. So please take heed, take care of yourselves, and until next time, embrace the earth, and she'll embrace you back.